In the gumbo of growth, the connection is you.
We are heading down south today, specifically to Acadiana, Louisiana. Now, usually when we talk about that region, we're diving into Cajun culture, the music, or, the incredible food scene. But today, we're looking at something much more specific.
Much more logistical.
Frankly, much more critical for a certain group of families.
You're looking at a survival guide, or maybe a treasure map is a better way to put it.
A treasure map through a very dense, very tangled bureaucracy.
Right.
We've got a stack of documents here, a guide called Navigating the Autism Journey in Acadiana, and also these incredibly detailed flowcharts from the Autism Society Acadiana.
And if you've ever tried to navigate the medical or educational system for a child with special needs, you know that dense is putting it lightly.
Oh, yeah.
It's a maze.
Yeah.
That's the feeling that just jumps off the page in these sources.
Yeah.
You have parents who are dealing with the emotional weight of the potential diagnosis, and suddenly they are handed a pile of paperwork full of acronyms that look like alphabet soup.
It feels like you need a law degree just to get your kid into a swim class sometimes.
It can absolutely feel that way. So our mission today is to cut through that fog.
Okay.
We're going to take these lists and charts and warnings and try to build a logical timeline. We're starting from that very first suspicion in infancy all the way through the school years, and then we're tackling the big one.
Adulthood.
And
housing, financial security, the stuff that keeps parents awake at 3 a.m.
Exactly. And I think the key theme here, right from the start, is the difference between parenting and administration.
Yeah.
Meaning that to be an effective parent in this specific context, you almost have to become a part-time case manager.
Right.
The guide makes it so clear. You build the safety net with paperwork so that you can actually have the emotional bandwidth to just enjoy your kid.
I love that framing. Do the work so you can live the life. So let's rewind to the beginning, the starting line. The guide describes that gut check moment when a parent notices something.
Maybe a speech delay, maybe a sensory issue.
Maybe they aren't making eye contact.
Right. And the advice here is blunt and immediate. Do not wait. Address it with your pediatrician immediately. But, and this is a huge but in the text, don't expect the pediatrician to necessarily have the magic wand.
Right. The guide warns about the wait-and-see approach. It seems like a lot of doctors, probably well-meaning, might say, oh, let's give it 6 months, boys bloom late, that sort of thing.
But our sources are just screaming no.
No, wait.
Because time is the one resource you can't get back. In early development, 6 months is a massive window for neuroplasticity.
A huge window.
So the guide explicitly says if you hit that wall with a doctor who wants to wait, you need to pivot and find an evaluator for an autism assessment yourself.
And here's where we hit the first major logistical hurdle in Acadiana.
The wait lists.
The wait lists.
Yeah. We are talking about a region where the wait for a developmental pediatrician or, a psychologist to do a full evaluation can often exceed a year.
Just pause on that for a second. A year.
A year.
In the life of a 2-year-old, that is literally half their life. That's a massive developmental window potentially lost while you're just sitting by the phone.
It is. And that's why the strategy in the guide is so aggressive. It says, get on the wait list.
Yeah.
Even if you aren't 100% sure, even if you think it might just be a phase, get your name on the list today.
Because you can always cancel.
You can always cancel the appointment later if things resolve, but you cannot get that year back if you wait to make sure.
They do offer a bit of a workaround, though, for parents who are, panicking at the thought of a 12-month delay.
They do. It's a geography hack. The guide suggests looking outside the immediate Acadiana area.
So Baton Rouge, New Orleans.
Exactly. Check your insurance network for providers there.
Widen the net. Drive 2 hours to save 12 months.
That's the math. And it's worth it because that evaluation yields the medical diagnosis. And we need to be really clear about what that is. It's not just a label.
No.
In the eyes of the system, it's a key.
The golden ticket.
It really is.
Yeah.
The source emphasizes keeping a secure copy of this diagnosis forever. You will be showing it to insurers, government agencies, schools.
Everyone.
For the rest of the child's life.
Yeah.
It is the document that unlocks the doors.
So once you have that ticket, the guide points to early steps. This is the immediate triage, right?
Correct. This is early intervention, speech therapy, occupational therapy, or OT, or ABA applied behavior analysis. The goal is to just flood the zone with support while the child is young.
Okay.
But while that is happening, while you're in that triage mode, the guide introduces this massive piece of administrative homework that you have to do in the background.
And this is the part that I think most people would miss. I certainly would have.
Oh, for sure.
We need to talk about the AAHSD.
The Acadiana Area Human Services District.
It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
No, it's a mouthful. But this is the gatekeeper for state services in that region. And the text issues a very specific, almost ominous warning here.
Yeah.
It says every single person with a diagnosis must get on the AHSD database immediately.
And the nuance here is, even if you don't need help right now.
That is the critical insight.
Right.
Most people think we're doing okay, we have private insurance, we don't need state help. But the source frames this as emergency prep.
Oh, okay.
Imagine a scenario. The primary breadwinner loses their job, a caregiver gets sick, or the family finances just collapse. If you walk into the state office that day asking for help, you're starting at zero.
And you'll likely face a massive waiting period.
Years, potentially.
Right.
But if you registered 5 years ago when things were fine, you are in the system. You have a date stamp. You are essentially pre-vetted for when the crisis hits.
It's like buying fire insurance. You don't buy it when the kitchen is already on fire.
Precisely. You buy it when the house is fine. Now, once you are in that AAHSD system, we have to look at these flowcharts. So they divide everything into two buckets: waiver services and non-waiver services.
I feel like waiver is one of those terms we hear constantly in this space, but we rarely define what exactly is being waived.
It's a great question. It refers to Medicaid rules. Traditionally, Medicaid funds were for institutional care, hospitals, nursing homes.
Right.
A waiver literally waives the requirement for the person to be in an institution to receive funding. It lets the money follow the person into their home or community.
That is a huge distinction. So it's funding for living a normal life, not funding for being in a hospital.
Exactly. And the chart lists the Children's Choice Waiver, the New Opportunity Waiver, which everyone calls NOW, and the Residential Options Waiver. The big headline here is that if you get one of these waivers, it comes with automatic access to Medicaid and Medicare services.
So it opens the full medical treasure chest.
It does. Then you have the non-waiver side.
Right.
These are more like stopgaps or specific supports. Things like the Flexible Family Fund, which is often a direct cash stipend, or individual and family support services.
Right.
They don't trigger that automatic Medicaid card, but they are vital for day-to-day survival.
Speaking of Medicaid, we have to talk about the elephant in the room for middle-class families.
Yes.
I think a lot of listeners might be tuning out the government assistance part because they think, I have a job, I make a decent salary, I'm not going to qualify.
And that is the single biggest financial mistake a special needs family can make.
Wow.
The guide is so adamant about this. Do not assume you are ineligible.
Because of TEFRA.
TEFRA, the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act.
Sounds like boring tax code.
It does, but it is a lifeline. Essentially, TEFRA allows children with disabilities to receive Medicaid coverage regardless of their parents' income.
Okay, so to put it plainly, you could be a CEO making six figures. If your child meets the disability criteria, they can get Medicaid coverage through TEFRA.
Yes, and you might ask, why do I need it if I have Blue Cross or Aetna?
Exactly my next question.
It acts as a secondary insurance. It covers the copays, it covers the deductibles, it picks up the therapies that private insurance caps out on.
That is massive.
For a middle-class family, paying for weekly speech therapy, OT, and ABA, that can easily run into thousands of dollars a month out of pocket, even with insurance.
And TEFRA
picks up that slack. It's a financial game changer.
That's incredible. It's not about charity. It's about access to care that is otherwise just prohibitively expensive.
And the guide also lists Exceptional Lives as a resource here.
Right.
Because getting the card is one thing. Understanding how to use it is another. They help you navigate the actual benefits so you don't leave services on the table.
Okay, so we've got the medical diagnosis, we've tackled the state database, and we've sorted the funding. The kid is growing up. Now we hit age 5.
Or 3, sometime.
Or 3, depending on the district. It's time for school.
The education system.
Yeah.
And here is where the roadmap takes a really sharp turn. Remember how we said the medical diagnosis is the golden ticket? Well, the school system doesn't necessarily care about your golden ticket.
What do you mean? I thought the diagnosis was the proof.
It's proof for the doctors. But schools operate under educational law, not medical law. The source points out a common trap. Parents wait for that medical diagnosis before approaching the school.
But you don't have to.
You don't. You can and should call the school district's special education department and request a school evaluation immediately.
Even if you're still on that 1-year wait list for the developmental pediatrician.
Yes, absolutely. The school evaluates for educational impact. If they see a need, they can write an IEP, an individualized education plan, and start services like speech or social skills training before a doctor ever signs a piece of paper.
That is a massive hack. Don't let the medical bottlenecks slow down the educational progress.
It's parallel processing. Do both at once.
Got it.
Now, regarding the IEP, the guide touches on this, but we should probably expand on it. IEP meetings are legendary for being intimidating.
Oh, yeah. It's usually the parents on one side of a tiny table and then 5 or 6 administrators, teachers, and therapists on the other. It feels like a tribunal.
It does. And that power imbalance is real. That's why the source highlights Families Helping Families of Acadiana.
What do?
They offer specific training on IEP rights. They teach you what you can ask for, what the school is legally required to provide, and how to push back when you hear, "We don't do that here."
Which is usually code for, "We don't want to pay for that here."
Often, yes. So knowledge is leverage in those meetings.
Oh, okay.
The guide also discusses school choice. In Acadiana, you aren't limited to just the neighborhood public school. There's a discussion about integrated classrooms versus specialized environments.
And there isn't a correct answer here.
No, but the guide emphasizes that it's a choice you need to make actively, not passively.
And as they get older, that choice evolves into the diploma versus certificate track.
This is a big decision that hits usually around high school. You have to decide if the student is working toward a standard state high school diploma.
With all the testing.
Right, with strict curriculum requirements and standardized testing, or a certificate of achievement.
Which is more focused on life skills.
Exactly. It focuses on career prep, community-based learning, functional independence. It's not lesser. It's just a different destination. Yeah. But you have to pick the lane early enough.
Okay. We've been very heavy on the logistics school, doctors, insurance. But the guide pivots to something that I think is just as important, the living part. Because you don't want your kid's entire life to just be therapy sessions in classrooms.
Socialization, friends, fun.
And what I liked about the Acadiana resources is that they seem really specific. This isn't just go to the park.
No, it's tailored. Take We Rock the Spectrum Kids Gym.
Okay.
If you take a child with sensory processing issues to a regular indoor playground, it can be a nightmare.
Oh, the noise, the chaos.
The flashing lights. It can cause a meltdown in 5 minutes.
So We Rock the Spectrum is designed differently.
It's a sensory-safe gym. It's designed to regulate the nervous system, not overstimulate it. The guide also lists the Dreams Foundation, TheraCare Music Therapy, the Children's Museum.
These are places where the staff is trained.
Yes. You don't have to apologize for your kid being who they are.
That safety to just be is huge. They also mention Train Unique. The name suggests fitness.
Yes. Physical activity adapted for different needs. And Special Olympics, of course, which is a classic for a reason. It builds community and confidence.
Speaking of community, the guide makes a distinction between support for the parents and support for the kids themselves.
This is a crucial evolution. For years, support groups meant moms drinking coffee and venting.
Which is still needed.
Oh, absolutely. The guide points to the Autism Society Acadiana for that. You need your tribe. But as these kids become teens, they need a tribe too.
I saw one group name that I absolutely love.
Right.
Autistic Penguins.
It's fantastic branding, isn't it?
It's perfect.
But more importantly, it's a space for teens and young adults to hang out with peers who communicate the way they do.
And there's the Lafayette Asperger Support Group and the MAT group Managing Asperger's together.
Think about how isolating the teenage years are for anyone. Now, add a communication difference. These groups aren't just nice to have. They're mental health suicide prevention.
Yeah.
They give these young people a sense of identity and belonging.
If you're listening and scrambling to write these names down, the guide actually consolidates them. There's a link tree.
Right.
Linktree.com for Acadian Autism.
Modern problems, modern solutions. Yeah. It's a great central hub.
All right, we are heading into the final and arguably the most difficult segment of the roadmap.
The future.
Adulthood. This is the part where the expert brain has to take over because the parent brain usually wants to shut down. It's terrifying to think about what happens when you aren't there anymore.
It is the hardest hurdle. But the source is brutal with its honesty. Parents will not live forever. You cannot be the safety net forever. You have to build a structure that can stand without you.
Let's start with the money. because the rules here are tricky.
Very tricky. The guide highlights ABL accounts achieving a better life experience. Here's the problem. To qualify for things like SSI or Medicaid, you usually can't have more than $2,000 in assets.
Which is basically nothing. So if a grandparent leaves the child $10,000 in a will, they could accidentally disqualify them from their health insurance.
Exactly. It's the poverty trap. ABL accounts solve this. They let you save significantly more money tax-free, specifically for disability-related expenses, without counting against that $2,000 cap.
So it lets you build a nest egg without burning the safety net.
Precisely.
Then there's the legal status. The guide reminds us that at 18, the law doesn't care about developmental age.
That's a shock for many parents. Your child turns 18, and suddenly hypo blocks you from talking to their doctor. You can't sign their permission slips. You can't manage their bank account.
So you need to lawyer up.
You need to consult an attorney about continuing ongoing tutorship or power of attorney. You need to legally reestablish your ability to help them make decisions.
Okay. Then we have employment and housing.
For work, the contact is Louisiana Rehabilitative Services. They help with job coaching, college accommodations, vocational training.
But housing?
Housing is the beast.
It really is. The wait list issue comes back here, doesn't it?
With a vengeance.
Yeah. The expert advice in the text is to look into Section 8 vouchers or HUD programs, but do not wait until the child is 25 and wants to move out.
We're talking about lists that can be years, sometimes a decade long.
Yes. The strategy is to apply when they are young. It feels premature, but you want to be at the top of that list when they are ready. You do not want to be 80 years old, physically unable to care for your 50-year-old child, and then start looking for an apartment. That's a sobering thought.
It is.
The guide also mentions transportation, which connects to all of this. If you can't drive, your world shrinks.
It does. But rideshares and paratransit services are changing that map. It allows people to live a bit further out, maybe where housing is cheaper, and still get to a job. It's a budget item, for sure, but it buys independence.
And finally, technology. Latan.
The Louisiana Assistive Technology Access Network. This is cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's not just wheelchairs. It's smart home setups that can remind someone to turn off the stove. It's communication devices. It's using tech to fill the gaps so a person can live alone safely.
When you zoom out and look at this entire roadmap from the pediatrician's office to the estate planning attorney, it is a massive undertaking.
It is.
It feels almost impossible for one family to manage.
It is too much for one family. That's why the recap in the source is so important. You have LACAN, Disability Rights Louisiana, the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs. These are agencies whose sole job is to help you navigate this. You are not meant to do this in a silo.
And I think that brings us back to the core philosophy that opened the guide. There's a quote at the end that really stuck with me.
The worst time to plan for an emergency is when the emergency is already happening.
It's such a simple truth, but it's hard to implement when you're tired.
It is. But the goal of all this, the TEF reforms, the AEHSD database, the waivers, it's not to drown you in paperwork. It's to clear the brush.
Right.
The source says, above all, enjoy life, get out, make connections. You do the admin so you can forget about it and just live.
You know, it really strikes me that successful navigation here, it's like it requires you to operate on two parallel tracks at the same time.
2 tracks, how do you mean?
Well, you've got track 1, right, where you're just, you're living for today. You're going to the Autistic Penguins meetup. You're at the park. You're just being a parent.
Right, the present.
Exactly. But then on track 2, kind of running quietly in the background, you have to be this cold, calculating project manager. You're building infrastructure for a future that is 20 years away.
That is the perfect way to describe it. You have to be present in the moment, but strategic about the future. It's an incredibly difficult balance to strike, but as this roadmap shows, it is possible.
You just have to take the first step. And for our listeners in Acadiana, you have the map. Don't let it sit in a drawer.
Absolutely use it.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Take care.